Hey guys, it's Coach KJ, and I'm here. It's a couple of days before Veterans Day, and I wanted to just say thank you so much to our veterans by allowing them or enabling them to share their story as to, why the military was important to them, some of the things that they got out of it, and why it can be advantageous for even more people. So I have Pat with me, Patricia Maldonado.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Maldonado.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I love it.
Thank you.
Okay, and she has served in the army. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Cool, cool. So she served in the army, and she wants to share her story with us. And I'm just, first of all, before we do anything, I just want to say thank you for your service.
No problem. No problem. You're welcome.
So tell me a little bit about it. So the military, did you, when you were like 5 years old, did you say I want to join the military? Like, how did you find your branch? How did you decide this was the career for you?
So, it was not, believe it or not, growing up, I always thought I was going to be a background dancer or maybe a doctor. And I wanted to infuse those together. So I wanted to be this doctor that brought like dancing to the hospitals and used music as therapy. Well, unfortunately, when I got to high school, I was very good in school. But when I got to high school, I was not a very popular person. So I ended up finding that I was doing things just to be popular and to be known and, just to have friends. So
Well, she
my
changed
grade,
it around because now Pat is very popular. Everybody loves Pat, but go ahead.
and so my grades lacked. My grades lacked. So then there comes, okay, well, I don't know if I'm gonna get a scholarship. Um, I did basketball and track, but I didn't think I was gonna get picked up in that. So, reality, towards the end starts hitting like, okay, so you have people asking, like, what are you gonna do after high school? Well, because I didn't take it seriously, I didn't know. I was like, oh, yeah, I gotta find something to do, I'm about to turn 18 soon. I gotta do something. So I never forget, I went to lunch one day and I knew about the Army and things like that, but I knew more of the Air Force. But I just didn't like the Air Force, like I didn't get that strong, feeling. So was in the cafeteria one day. There was a whole bunch of recruiters, Army recruiters in the cafeteria. So one of the recruiters came to me and he was like, have you ever thought about, joining the military? And I was like, no, not really. Um, but I had, seen everybody and everybody that I knew that was a female in the Army, they could call cadence and they could sing real good. So I was just like, that kind of always like intrigued me. And I was like, oh no, I don't know. So I'll never forget, his name was Sergeant First Class Owens. He had kind of went around the school and was asking, like, hey, do you know what's going on with the student and stuff like that? So the track coach and then were like, oh, she can run. So all of a sudden I started seeing him all the time in the cafeteria. So I was like, and so then he started, saying, hey, I know you can run and stuff. When is your next track meet? And I was like, is this man concerned about my track meet? We don't know each other. So believe it or not, it was like him and five other recruiters at my track meet. So I was like, are they here? And so they saw me run because I was a distance runner. I was not a sprinter. So they were like, do you think you can run 2 miles? And I was like, yeah, but I don't know. Like, why? Why do you want to know if I can run 2 miles? And so they just kept showing up. And then because I was at that time being 17, I would easily persuade. So they would be like, oh, we'll take you to Outback Steakhouse. Like they did a lot of stuff for me. They did a lot of stuff to get a signature. So I was like, Outback? Oh man, you're gonna take me to Outback? Red Lobster too. And we're going here, we're going there. I'm like, oh, I like this. Now that I'm older, I understand, trying to get you to sign the dotted line. So I was a foodie. I love to eat. And I was like, okay. And they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna take you, here. And if you want to bring some of your friends, so I'm like, hey man, the recruiter people are coming. We're
What?
gonna go over here. They said I can bring y'all. We were in the little army, for one band, me and my friends. So, after a while, a lot of free meals. They were always showing up and they seemed concerned, about me at the time. I was like, all right, well, you guys seem to be some nice people and you can afford Red Lobster all the time, sign me up, So eventually, because I was 17 at the time, they had this thing called the split up program, where your junior year, you go to basic training. They'll send you back so you can finish your senior year because you can't technically go into the military without a high school diploma, but then you can do the split up program. So he had asked me, he said, what do you think about this? He was like, instead of you, hanging out this summer, you can go ahead and start your military career and you can, start getting paid. So 17 years old, they're taking me to Red Lobster and stuff all the time. I want that kind of money, So I was like, yes, because I can get me some nice stuff, come back to school my senior year, So I'm like, oh yes, I'm ready. So it was kind of funny because when the recruiter car showed up to my house, because I was 17, I had to have my mother's consent. And so when the recruiter car comes, my mom's like, she's pretty girly. I don't think this is gonna work. Are you sure you had a conversation, with her? And they're like, yes, ma'am, she wants to go. So my mom was like, I don't want to waste your time or the government time, but she doesn't even like to get her hands dirty. I don't know how she's gonna do that. She's not gonna be able to sleep in a tent, she's not gonna do all that. And so the recruiter, just still kept, reassuring her. So then I happened to walk in because I just got off the school bus. So I see the recruiter car there. And Sergeant Owens was like, yeah, your mom's under the impression that we're going to waste that you're going to waste the time, you don't want to get outside and get dirty. And believe it or not, because I did come off very girly-ish growing up, even though I was a little tomboyish, I felt like that was like my first challenge, like, oh, y'all don't think I can do this? What? I can get my hands dirty. I can do this. I can go outside. um I can run against the best. I'm a good runner. So even though my mom was like adamant I wasn't gonna make it and I would be back in a week, I was like, no. I was like, please sign it, I'm gonna do it. So my mom was just like, please don't waste these people time. So I went off that summer.
When you signed it, could you back out?
No.
So once you signed at 17, the split option, you had to go back into the military.
Yes, because it was just not just my signature, it was my mom's signature as well. So both of our signatures had to be on it because I was 17 at the time. But yes, you cannot back out because the military go ahead and cut your orders. They pay you, get your plane ticket to go to basic training, all of the above. So yeah. So I never forget, I went to basic training, Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And the crazy thing was, it was the company I was in, it was Alpha 169. And we were the first cycle of females to have gone through there in over 10 years. So it was a transition period for the drill sergeants that were there and had been there for a while, that now there's females coming through there. And you could tell the atmosphere that they were used to having only males, but they opened it up and it was co-ed. And I never forget, because again, I was kind of girly. My recruiter didn't tell me don't pack too much stuff, like, because you're going to get stuff and you have to be able to carry it. The drill sergeant's going to be yelling at you. So, he didn't tell me that. So I showed up with like 7 bags. I had curling irons, I had belts, I had I had tennis shoes. Like I made sure I had an outfit for every day, the accessories, my makeup. So I show up to basic training with all these bags. And the funny thing was, the night when I got there, the drill sergeant saw me, they said, we're gonna remember your face. And I'm like, why? And then when I got in the bay, I noticed all the other girls, some of them packed their bags so tight that they could fit it in a lunchbox. So for me, I was just like, ooh, that's nasty.
Not
A lunch,
nasty.
I was like, you're missing something, you know what I'm saying? Because I show up all these bags. And even then I had braiding hair in there because I was like, maybe I could put some box braids in my hair. Like I had everything you needed. So the next morning we wake up and the drill sergeants take us down the street and we get all our military issues. So now I have a long duffel bag, my rucksack, and like 5 other bags. And they tell us to get on the truck because we're going over the railroad track to the basic training site. And they're like, you have to carry all your stuff. And they drew a small circle on the ground and you had to make your stuff fit in the small circle, right? So I look and I said, why did my recruiter tell me? So I was that one soldier that sometimes when you watch the video where they're struggling and they're dropping all over bags everywhere and struggling to get to the formation and the drill sergeants are having a good time yelling at them. That was me because yeah, I did not know. I mean, it was just crazy. But yeah, so for my basic training, yes, my thing was to prove people that I was not just girly. So I believe in that, I did it. And it was funny because the first night we got there were some females that were already crying and stuff like that. And the drill sergeants, said, be honest, who's ready to go home? Who's ready to go home? So myself, it was like myself along with 6 other females, we raised our hand. I was like, yeah, I'm ready to go home,
I can't
and
use all these clothes I bought. I want to
and
get
so,
my hair done, my nails done.
yes. And so the drill sergeant was like, too bad. The Army spent too much money to get you here. You're stuck. So then that made me cry because I was like, then why did you ask me if you knew I wasn't going to be able to go home? Like, why did you even ask? So
And
going through
where's the
it,
Red Lobster?
I know, right? And so going through it, graduation, I'll never forget. So when my family showed up for graduation, they were so surprised that I had made it. And
Were you
it was
surprised? Were you surprised you made it?
very, because sleeping outside, my mama was right. And critters crawling, and it's not a comfortable bed, and you having to get a little bottle of water, and take a bath, like I was like, I'm used to a shower and water. Like, what is this? Like, yeah. So, but it was in that moment I realized how strong I was and that I didn't give myself enough credit. And it was in that moment that even my family didn't think I could endure something like that, that I really realized, like, what? Like James Brown said, it's a man's world, but it's nothing without a woman. That I can do this.
Right.
I can do this. And then from there, I was just like, oh yeah, you can do that. I can do it too, So it gave me that confidence and to, even things that scared me, like potentially being around a snake or something like that, caused me to have to say, okay, this is mental. You can get over this, rappelling off the side of a building. I'm like, we don't do that where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not jumping from the side of the building for no reason, so we just gonna do this for fun and y'all gonna be yelling at me, I'm like, and I rappelled off the side of a building, you know what I'm saying? Stuff that I knew I would never do. I did it. So for basic training, I did that at 17. Then they sent me back home so that I can graduate high school.
Mm-hmm.
So then right after I walked across the stage, they sent me to my first AIT because I ended up with 4 different jobs in the military. So my first one, they sent me to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, which they call Fort Lost in the Woods. And believe it or not, because I didn't pay attention to my contract when I was 17, I didn't realize that the first job I picked was construction repair equipment, which was 62 Bravo. And basically we fix stuff, like if a certain equipment goes down, like if your forklift goes down, we fix it. So I didn't even, so that's also helped me to realize to pay attention to your contract. You know what I'm saying? I was just so hooked on being able to get Outback and Red Lobster and good money. I didn't even realize the job I had signed up for. So when I got there and they were like, welcome to 62 Bravo course. And I'm like, okay. And they were like, construction repair equipment. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? So basically it's the mechanics for, bigger, working trucks, like I said, like a forklift, a
So
plow truck.
what are you learning? What are you thinking through this process? Because you're going from diva and dress up to forklifts and the rest. So what are you learning? Are you learning that success comes through paying attention to details? Are you learning success comes through, repetitiveness? I mean, what are you learning from this process or this transition?
In that moment was, don't be so quick to jump on the bandwagon and stuff without doing your due diligence and doing your homework. Because had I would have asked what a 62 Bravo is, I'm pretty sure I know I would have never picked that. But again, being 17, we're going out to eat all the time, and you're taking me and my friends, and I'm from a little place, So I'm like, oh yes, yes, just sign me up. What do you need, And then they say, okay, well, if you pick this job, we're gonna give you a $3,000 bonus. $3,000? Yes, definitely put me in.
Okay, okay.
So I learned in that moment it pays to pay attention. um Everything that somebody sells you is not as good as it comes off, and we can dress up anything. My whole thing was, is if I think about it, they really wasn't doing anything big or spectacular, but because I was 17 and just was looking at the outside and not caring, I paid the price of having to go through that school. So
Okay.
guess what? I was a mechanic. That was my
But
first job, was a mechanic.
but let me ask you something. The recruiters that they send out, they're typically in shape, nice looking men. So now you said in school you weren't really like hanging out or whatever. So now you got five good looking men coming to visit you at school, taking you out to dinner. Girl, look, sign me up for Bravo. I want to do Bravo one, two, three. I want to go talk to the recruiter and ask him some more questions about Bravo.
Yeah,
So
so because even with Mr. Owens, there was another one. His name is Sergeant West Side, and he was very easy on the eyes. So I was just like,
I
and you gonna take me and my friends out too?
know.
Whatever you're doing, that's what I want to do. So again, easily persuade, but it helped me because now once you get to your AIT school,
Mhm.
the recruiters disappear because now they got their bonus for getting you in. So you're not going to hear from them no more, because they did their job. They got you to sign your name on the dotted line. They got their money. And now you're in AIT. Adios,
But,
so.
but but now that you're in AIT and you're learning something that's challenging or what you didn't expect, how did you keep going? How did you not like give up? What was your motivation then? Was it like I'm still gonna prove them wrong? Was it like I don't have any choice because I'm
Like
not
I
going
didn't have
AWOL?
a choice, but I ended up with some great battle buddies, and they made the time just go by because they were naturally funny people. you know they always made me laugh. They would always come up with songs, and they were just happy people. So even if I wanted to be like a Debbie Downer, my battle buddies were the funniest people to me. They would always make me laugh, everything. And they were real tomboys. So, changing the oil and stuff, they didn't really care so much. Where you had me over there in scrubs, and I'm just like, oh, 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 got a little oil over here. Like, wait, what are y'all doing? Like they were like, girl, hand me this. And they would touch it with the bare hands. I'm looking for gloves, trying to change the oil. They're down there, and I'm just like, girl, what the what? You really touched it. They were like, girl, it's nothing. And then, they would wash their hands and have the black under the nails. And I'm like, and you're gonna eat lunch. Like, oh, I couldn't eat lunch. So it was because of my battle buddies And, they was like real tomboys, with it. They were like, girl, come on. Now you don't want to fail, because if you fail, you're gonna have to go back home and then you're gonna have to owe all this money to the army, So I couldn't do that. Yeah.
Wait, go back. Say that again.
So like if you don't complete that because the army paid for you to be there and they're paying you while you're there, oh, you're gonna pay that giving back. Yeah. hmm hmm So,
Was that
they
in
would
the
always.
line? Was that on the dotted line? When did you find out about
Yeah.
paying back?
Well, I kind of knew about it because they talked about it, but it resonated more because even when you go to your AIT, your instructors, they'll tell you, they're like, you don't want to fail. You know what I'm saying? So having that, and I'm like, I don't know how much money they spent to get me here. I know it cost a couple of thousand to get me, here. So I was like, Jesus, okay, let me do the right thing, because I ain't got no money and my mama sure can't pay these people back, So uh, it was my battle buddies. It was them wanting me to see me win, you
Mhm.
know. Um, that helped me get through AIT because again, I didn't know I had signed up to be an equipment mechanic. So I was like, have it. Like I thought I was gonna get like a job like them, looking good, driving around, taking people to Red Lobster. Like, how did this, end up? So,
But
yeah. So,
one of the things is that you said is the environment and the people, because it was the environment and the people, the recruiters that got you there. It was the environment and the people that got you through, your AIT class. So I'm quite sure you weren't with the same people all the way throughout. So as you transition, did you
mhm.
find it was like similar type of personalities or similar type of interest that kept you going through each stage or each class or each program, each job?
Yes, yes, and believe it or not, I've always, told people like, believe it or not, my army family, I'm more close to them than my own family. Because so I joined at 17, but I had joined the reserve status. So after that, I had got married young. I had children. So uh, I was married to a Marine. And it was I was in a
Wait, so you
domestic.
were in the army and he was in the Marines?
Yes.
So how did you meet somebody? Because sometimes they have both stationed in the same place. Is that what it is?
Well, yes, or they just try to get you within a certain mile radius. They can't guarantee. Now if I was like in the Navy and with him being in the Marines, yes, we would have definitely been like on the same installation. But because we were two different branches of service, that made it hard. But the thing was, is because he was transportation, and because I worked on transportation, when I went to Fort Leonard Wood, we didn't go. We did our training with Army, Air Force, Marines that were all in the same job set.
Okay.
So there, so in that situation, because we had the both had the same job titles, it was kind of as long as we could find a base, that where the Navy or the Marine was close, he was closer, than close. So for example, at that time I ended up at Fort Story, in on Virginia Beach, Virginia,
Okay. Okay.
and he was actually at Little Amphibious Base, which is on the outskirts of Virginia Beach, Virginia. So we were like 30 minutes apart. It wasn't hard. Um, but to answer your question, having people along the way, yes, that has really helped me. Because as I mentioned, I was in my marriage was a very domestic marriage. I hid it for 4 years. So a lot of people didn't know. So it was a big.
So wait, how did you hide it when you are, sleeping? Well, I don't know if you're sleeping in the same barracks as them, but you are working with them every day. You are, doing
So
all these things. So
I hid it in the sense of my family absolutely did not know.
okay.
Um, but I was in Virginia, so my family was all over. So, my family didn't see me. We didn't have FaceTime and stuff and Skype back then. You know what I'm saying? So if it wasn't a situation of physically seeing them, you didn't. A lot of times when I had, any markings or any situations, like that, because of me being an equipment person, um, I could hide it. You know what I'm saying? I could say the hydraulic lift. You know, I could say this because I'm working on big equipment and I'm a little person. Um, it
No,
wasn't
go ahead, keep going.
So it wasn't because by this time, because now our AIT is not that long. My AIT was only a couple of weeks. So by this time, we're actually living in government housing, you know, husband and wife with you know, as a family.
Mhm,
But when you progress in the military, you have to go to different schools and different schools and different schools, so that you can get promoted. Well, for the Army,
mhm.
every branch is different. For the
Yeah.
Army, you have to go through your different schools to get promoted. So, you know, I always had an answer for something. So finally, year 4, um, my ex-husband had landed me in the hospital. So people to this day, they always say, oh, you have a beautiful smile. Your teeth are straight, this and this and this. People do not know the reason why my teeth are straight as they are is because I've had reconstruction and I still have the scar on the side of my face, but they broke my jaw. I had whole reconstruction. I was eating through a straw. So now the truth has come out, you know, because I can't go to work, you know what I'm saying? I got to tell, you know, my first time, you know, in the hospital. So finally, it was at that moment, I'll never forget. To this day, me and him still reach out and speak to each other via social media. His name was Sergeant First Class Terrell Cunningham. I woke up on a Saturday morning and I said, this is enough. I'm leaving. But at the time, I didn't have no money in my account. I had 3 boys. They were all under the age 5. Um, I didn't have an education or anything at the time. I had no plan B. So I woke up that Saturday morning. I drove to Military Circle Mall, which is located in Norfolk, Virginia, in the JNF Shopping Center where they had their recruiting because I was in the reserve status, but I was still working active. I went to the recruiter and I said, hey, um, I said, I've been in a domestic situation and I'm tired. I'm about to pack my kids up. I'm going to go get on 95 and take them to my mom's. Um, and if you want the bonus for me, you need to get me out of here by Friday. If you don't have me out of here by Friday, I will go to the Marines or anybody who's going to have me out of here to switch over branches because you at that time you could do that. And I'm gonna go there. So I said, Sergeant Cunningham, you want my money? Have me out of here by Friday. I'll be back. Dropped my kids off. I came back and looked at him. I said, are you gonna have me go home by Friday? Or do I need to go down the hall and talk to somebody else? And he said, no, ma'am. He said, you think you can take your PT test today? I said, yes, sir. So he took me out to the track, did my PT test. He came and got me that Friday. And it was crazy because he pulled in my driveway. And normally my ex-husband never came home for lunch. But this particular day he did. So I was like, oh, how am I going to get out? You know what I'm saying? Because I hadn't told my ex-husband because at the time I needed to sign while I was still legally married because at the time single mothers could not come in, you know. So I'm like, oh crap. I was like, he never comes for lunch. He's gonna come to lunch this day. So my heart is beating. I see the recruiter car. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. And I remember he came in and he said, hey, T, why is there a recruiter car, you know, outside? And I had my stuff in my bag and I was like, please, Jesus, let me just make it. And I didn't know where he was in the house. I could just hear his voice. And I said, I need to be able to get beeline to this front door, but I don't know what part of the house he's in, you know?
mhm.
So then I hear him go in the kitchen and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to fly down these stairs like it's nobody's business and just kick the door and go, right? So I just counted because he's just like, hey, you hear me? And I'm like, 1, 2, 3. Jetted down the stairs, busted the door, Sergeant Cunningham was trying to open the door to be like, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, no. I slid in the back seat and I said, go. I'll tell you when we get on the highway. Please don't stop. I
Wow.
need you to go. I need you to go. So he's like, what? I said, please step on it. Don't let him come out. So he backs out and he's like, what is going on? So we finally get on the highway and I said, Sergeant Cunningham, I have something I need to tell you. And so he's like, yeah, it seems like you have a lot you need to tell me. He's like, what is going on? He's like, why you didn't want to tell your husband goodbye or anything like that? And I said, remember when I came to you and I said he put his hands on me for the last time? He doesn't know. And I said, it's a breach of contract if you go back and tell him. I said, so if he comes to that recruitment center, you better not tell him where I'm at. And so he's like, he doesn't know? No. So my phone's going off. He's calling like, where you at? What's going on? And I never answered it. I switched over my job. Then I became a medic. So I
Where
was in
were your sons? Where were your sons?
with my mom.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I got to Fort Sam, Texas, and I'm crying. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, I finally, 4 years later, put me first. You know what I'm saying? And that was scary, because I'm like, I don't have no money.
How did the
I
military help you put you first? How did being in the military help you value you and put
Mm.
you first?
Because it showed me that I can be independent and I could do it on my own. And to have faith in me, because at that time I kind of felt like because I was a wife, um, that being a wife and being a mother came first, and that I needed to work on that. So this was my first time saying, I'm gonna put me first. I'm gonna take care of me. I'm gonna make sure I'm okay because when I'm okay, then my children can be okay.
Did you feel
But
stronger? Like, do you think the military made you stronger to do this?
yes, because when I got there, believe it or not, when I got to Texas, my plane arrived late at night. So I was still crying, because my ex-husband, he's still blowing up my phone. He's trying to figure out where I'm at, where's our children at, you know what I'm saying? So he's like, where are the boys? Just blowing up my phone, blowing up my phone. And so when I got there, my battle buddy that I had, and me and her are like this to this day. I got there and I'm in tears in the middle of the night. And so I woke her up making all this noise and I'm, so she's like, girl, are you okay? Like, what in the world? Like, what's going on? And so I told her, I said, I just left. And my husband doesn't know where I'm at. And I'm scared because it's my first time being this far away from home. My family does not know that this man been putting his hands on me and that I left. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody knew the reason why. You know what I'm saying? So from the outside looking in, it's like poof, she just woke up one day and left. And so then having to be honest and talk about it so that the military could give me help, so that I can go to counseling and things like that to talk it out, to be able to get assistance for not just myself, but for my children, because it's called the ACS, it's Army. Um, um, it's like Army programs where they help with the daycare, WIC, all this stuff for the children. But, I had to be honest and say that I was going through something and that I needed help, and that being okay that when I tell you, you're really going to help me, because I was scared because I grew up like you don't tell people your business. You keep that to yourself and you work it out, so, but, they didn't tell
Asking
us
for
how to
help
do
is asking for help is where it all starts, you know?
it.
And I'm quite sure in the military, or I don't know, tell me, in the military, did you have to ask for help sometimes
Yeah.
from your battle buddies?
Yeah. And that was the thing that was like one of the hardest things is because, people could tell that something was going on. They're like, you okay? Okay, well, when you're ready to talk, I'm here. But I struggled with believing that, like, do you really care?
Can I trust you?
Are you, mm-hmm. And then are you gonna tell everybody my business? So I struggled with that. And I never, never, never forget. Um when I finally got to Italy. Because that crazy thing was is my first duty station after that was Italy. And it's crazy how we say we got to be careful what we say, because in that moment when I was going through everything, I was like, God, please send me far away from that man. I don't want to be nowhere close to that man. And why out of my class, I was the only one that got an overseas assignment to Italy. And
What?
then I was like, yeah, I was like, oh, God, I was joking. I wanted to get away, but not that kind of a way. Like, you couldn't send me like to Texas. Like,
Did,
Jesus, you're gonna send me all the way over there?
but do you think the Army helped in keeping you away from your ex-husband too?
Mm-hmm. And I
So,
needed that. And I honestly I needed it. And in that process, I met so many awesome people that actually were my support system. I found out that, hey, what you're going through, you're not the only person that's going to go through that. You're not the only person that is going to be a single mother with a story, you know.
and that you
But
have a buffer while you're going through this. The military is giving you a buffer to build you up, to make you stronger, make you honest, make you ask for, enable you to ask for help, build that
mhm.
mental and physical toughness within you.